Quick episode recap. Senna and the Beast Girls are introduced to the village. Hiraku hopes for them to get used to the village life, and asks them to look for the maids if they need any help. Initially, the girls worried that they would be treated like slaves, but come to realize that on the contrary, their life isn't bad at all. The only thing is that they faint quite frequently for some reason, but everyone in the village fainted at some point, so Hiraku's probably used to it by now. Hiraku has a vested interest in the future of the village, but while watching the boys play, he gets to witness Senna use her magic to catch a fall. He comes to the sad conclusion that every person from every race in the village has the ability to use magic. It doesn't even have to be a person. Even the beasts around him can easily perform feats of magic. Hiraku has always been wanting to use magic, but not being able to left him saddened. Senna quickly tries to console him, saying that he's not the only one unable to use magic, as the children have yet to learn. So maybe they can learn together? But Hiraku knows that they will eventually surpass him, so he decides to go back to what he does best. While he was harvesting the apples, the ground suddenly began to shake, and Gran Maria quickly flies over to report that a grappler bear and a bloody viper are fighting near the village. Hiraku gets confused at the thought of a bear fighting with a snake, but she continues to explain that if they continue to fight, it would affect the village. She doesn't feel confident about facing them, but Hiraku has more important thoughts in mind.
そいつらって食べられるかな?
Huh?
Hiraku has Gran Maria carry him over to the battle site, and he continues with the story about eating them, because he's heard rumors about bears being eaten, and was curious about how they tasted. He realizes that the beasts are actually much larger than he initially thought, and Gran Maria insists they go call for help. But Hiraku nonchalantly has her swoop down. The angels are shocked at their mayor's casual demonstration that one-shot the beasts. Once taken back to the village, and asks how Hiraku plans to cook the meat, and he proceeds to show everyone how it's done. While cooking, Hiraku also adds some wine to the dish, and his harem members immediately feel dismayed for using something so precious. The finished product for the snake meat is compared to chicken, and everyone immensely enjoys eating it. The bear meat, on the other hand, wasn't up to par. It was a waste of wine. Hiraku felt that the dishes were missing a key ingredient, mayonnaise. But first, he heads over to Flora's house to look for a medicine that would kill harmful microorganisms. Flora is more than happy to help, and while listening to Hiraku's requirements for it, she initially hands him something that would eviscerate anything with a large explosion. But Hiraku was definitely looking for something less harmful that could also be consumed, so she finally gives him something usable in food. Afterward, Hiraku asks about the progress of Flora's main research topic, Miso, and she admits it's not going very well. He had already given her a general direction to follow, but while following the directions, she'd get tired of waiting and secretly add in the explosive potion, causing her hut to explode 3 times already. Hiraku encourages her to try again.
爆薬は控えめにしますね。
抜きで頼む。
But first, he wants to make the mayonnaise, and starts to mix the ingredients together. First the eggs, then some salt, some apple vinegar, and slowly add in some oil until the right texture. Now with mayo, any fried dish can be even more tastier.
このままでもいけますわよ。
They finally move on to making miso. They grind the boiled beans into a paste, add some mold, salt, and leave it in the cellar to ferment over the next few months. Ru then calls Hiraku to inform him guests have arrived at the village. They are a group of elder dwarves, led by Donovan, who came after hearing rumors of great alcohol produced within the village. They are poor, and while Hiraku doesn't mind sharing some wine for free, his wives are strongly against it. The dwarves do, however, have the technology to produce high-quality alcohol and are willing to contribute to the village, so long as they can provide the raw materials for the alcohol. There is plenty of harvests for them to use, and the girls quickly change their tune at the prospect of more alcohol. Donovan and his group start their alcohol production using a distillation process. Hiraku tries out the whiskey they made, and realizes the alcohol content was very high. The dwarves decided to continue to stay at the village and brew alcohol, and later that night, Hiraku holds a celebration to welcome Senna, the Beast Girls, and the dwarves into their village. Everyone gets to try out mayonnaise and the new alcohol, which is to their liking. With the sudden increase in the adult male population, Hiraku quietly asks Donovan if any of the females have caught his attention. Donovan admits that they are all very pretty, but they are too young for him, and none of them match his standard of beauty, so he declines Hiraku's offer to share his harem. Different races just have different cultures. Hiraku was going about his day, but something is rushing over from the distance. As Zabuton rings the alarm, he notices a dragon flying fiercely towards the village. He immediately determines it isn't friendly, and prepares to spear it, but Drime intervenes and clashes with the dragon. Suddenly, another dragon aggressively approaches, and Hiraku immediately throws his spear at it. It dodged the first throw, but as he was about to throw his next, Gucci quickly interferes. They are introduced as Drime's wife, Grafaloon, and their daughter, Lastismoon. The mother-daughter duo came to destroy the village because they found Drime's recent behavior suspicious. He'd constantly take out expensive treasures from their treasury and sneak out in the middle of the night and come back early in the morning. They immediately concluded that Drime was having an affair with other women, but he defends that he was building friendly relations with the village. This only builds the suspicions of his wife, but Drime makes a good point. With their internal affairs resolved, Hiraku takes the initiative to apologize for his earlier actions. Drime quickly has them apologize as well, and they express their regret for targeting the village and attempting to kill Hiraku. After everything gets sorted, Hiraku bids them farewell and leaves. Drime then emphasizes the importance to maintain a good relationship with the village, and Grafa agrees. Despite the small population, the village has powers comparable to their own, and the dragons have to be careful to not offend them. Lasti notes how her mother had to dodge the spear as she couldn't block it, but Grafa admits that she was saved by Zabuton. It turns out that Zabuton is an old friend of Grafa, and if it wasn't for her, she probably wouldn't be alive right now. Feeling afraid, Grafa assigns an important mission to Lasti. She wants her to live in the village and make sure Hiraku's spear doesn't point at the dragons. Unable to refuse, Lasti meets with Hiraku to get his permission to stay in the village. She wishes to contribute by helping around, so he assigns her work, but Lasti somehow finds a way to make a mess of everything she does. Baffled, but unsure of what to do with her, Hiraku consults Tia. She tells him that the wolves and the cattle have been scared ever since the dragons came, so they're looking quite constipated. But at the same time, she clues into Hiraku that dragons not only have great strength, but also have great intellect and wisdom. Enlightened, Hiraku decided to have Lasti handle diplomatic relation when foreigners enter the village. For her first job, she tries to negotiate a trade with Beazle. He seems to recognize her, however, and in fear of her and her race, he can only nod in agreement to everything she suggests. The meeting goes extremely smoothly. This makes Hiraku conclude that Lasti is very fit for the job. Back in the Demon King's castle, Beazle informs his fellow generals of dragons now gathering in the village. Grants nervously suggests they send a spy, but Randon quickly rejects the proposal in fear of the village retaliating. But Beazle has another plan. He summons his daughter Fraurem and tasks her to monitor the military power of the village. He asks her to be careful, but she is confident her magic abilities will get her through any problems. At the village gates, Fraurem is immediately welcomed by Lasti, as she had heard ahead of time from Bezel that his daughter would be coming to stay with them. She also recognizes Lastisman as a rumored terrifying dragon that many fear. Lasti proudly gives her a tour of the village, and Fraurem can't believe that such a fearsome dragon would be like this. Their tour is cut short when an angel informs Lasti that people from the Howling Village came to visit. Fraurem takes this chance to sneak around and investigate the village on her own.
ハイエルフまでいるのですか?
She hasn't forgotten her mission, and she observes the many infamous groups of races and people that have settled down in the village. But the more she saw, the more she became afraid.
イーフェルドウルフとデーモンスパイダーがしかも群れをなして
Fraurem was initially confident that their military could handle it, and she was also confident in her magic as one of the most talented of her generation, but a visit to the village shattered her self-confidence. Distraught, she concludes that for all these powerful groups to have gathered in one place, their leader, the one known as the mayor, must be some terrifying monster as well. Hiraku walks in on her and greets her, and she gets confused with the appearance of a normal human. He expresses concern for her, but she brushes him off, telling him to mind his own business and leaves. She quickly comes to regret this when she finds out from Lasti that the human she didn't think highly of was actually the mayor. Lasti admits even her mother is not his opponent, greatly frightening Fraurem. Some days later, she slowly gets used to working in the fields with Lasti, but she still can't act normal around Hiraku after her previous rudeness.